Hi everyone, welcome back to Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. In today's video I'm going to be doing a book versus film of this book, The End We Start From by Megan Hunter. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name's Alice and I have way too many books, and one of the books that I read in the month of January was this book, the novella The End We Start From by Megan Hunter. And this has recently come out as a film as well, so I thought that in today's video I would compare the character, setting and plot of both and let you know which I enjoyed more and so on. And before we start, just to let you know, I will be keeping this spoiler free because it is a short novella. I wouldn't want anybody to be spoiled for it, so I'll be talking about the plot in quite general and vague terms today. So first of all, the book. This is a 2017 novella which is told in short vignettes by a nameless first-person narrator. Even though it's short, it reads as even shorter because the sections are so short. There's very few words on the page in this book. So this closely follows our nameless narrator in the days, weeks and months after the birth of her son Zed, which unfortunately coincides with an apocalyptic environmental event, with flooding becoming out of control in London. You can see why I was drawn into this book. I do love a good apocalypse in my books, and yeah, this one really did draw me in. This has been turned into a 2023 film starring Jodie Comer as the mother and directed by Mahalia Bello. Let's start with the characters in this book. And in the film, the characters do remain pretty much the same or very, very similar to those in the book. We're mainly focused in the film on Jodie Comer, and although we don't have the first person perspective of the book, we do stay closely with her on her journey through the film. The supporting characters in this book, interestingly, are only referred to by their initials. We have the nameless narrator's son, Zed, and her husband, R. She later meets a woman called O and her baby, C. There are other characters who are only known by their initials who are met even later on in the book, which include a family of 4. But this family of 4 didn't really appear in the film. If they did, it was for like a brief second. So in both book and film, quite early on, we meet R's parents, the main character's in-laws, and their story diverges somewhat in the film from their story in the book. So the film has chosen to not directly refer to any of the characters by their initials. I didn't really hear anybody be called by name apart from the baby, who they named Zeb, and they did add a character who was expertly played by Benedict Cumberbatch. This is a sort of a cameo appearance really. He's not a main character to the film, but his part in the film was very enjoyable and a good addition from the book. Setting-wise, the setting was pretty closely similar in both the book and the film, although the book more specifically names the places as London, the Highlands of Scotland, the islands off the coast of Scotland, which isn't really done in the film. I'm not sure why that decision was taken, but they're not mentioned by name. However, the film does a very cinematic job of scenery. The Scottish mountains are beautifully used, and they kind of evoked for me the wonder of nature, and the contrast to flooded London worked really, really well, and the contrast to the busy camps that are also a setting in the film. I thought that the parts in sort of desolate Scotland were really doing a great job of adding to the sense of loneliness in parts of the film, and the feeling of the smallness of humanity in comparison to these sort of mountain ranges. So in terms of plot, this is a film that is fairly faithful to its source material. Where changes were made, they seem to be added in order to add urgency or drama, or to like really drive the plot along a bit quicker. Some changes to sort of characters' choices that happened in the book made characters more sympathetic or put them in sort of predicaments that the book kind of lacked a little bit, just through the way it was told. The book is a really, really quick read. I read this in a sitting. The most fundamental change, of course, with any first-person narrative is going to be translating being in that person's head onto the big screen. And I think that this is always a difficulty for any film that adapts really good first-person narratives. There is no dialogue really in this book, so the film version is naturally going to be a very different proposition. For me, both book and film handle the ordinary, and this felt like a really realistic portrayal of what a disaster of this kind and its aftermath might look like. It's a lot less fantastical than a lot of apocalyptic books that I've read and loved, and at times the book has a sort of a fever dreamish type quality, I think, added to by like the sparse sections of prose and the kind of poetic quality of some of the writing. I think with a book you can make things quite disjointed and not necessarily fill in all of the connections, and it can still be very, very successful. I did think the film captured this sort of dreamlike feeling brilliantly in the opening scenes, and quickly this became a sort of a nightmarish quality as the protagonist goes into labour at the same time as the floodwaters sort of dramatically rising and the floods worsening. However, this sort of cinematic, nightmarish opening quickly became a story that was more of survival and upheaval. Coming on to my own thoughts on this, I thought a film would be able to fill in some of the gaps in the book and that we would get more backstory and more apocalypse, and I don't feel like it really did an awful lot of that, to be honest. Although we do see some flashbacks, we never really ever directly look full on at the environmental crisis that is happening. That's very much the backdrop for this one woman's story. The woman is really, really central to these happenings. We don't ever really get the wider picture, which is obviously something that the book achieves as a first-person narrative. Although I did feel that there were maybe slightly more details of what was going on in the world in the book than maybe there was in the film. So personally for me, I enjoyed the book more because it felt pacey and it really gripped me. The film for me, although it was really beautiful to look at and very well acted, it felt so slow in the final third. I think the book's ending didn't really fully satisfy me, but it did work. In the film, the build-up to this eventual ending seemed simultaneously really, really long and at times rushed in a way that I can't really fully explain or put my finger on. So my bottom line is I had more fun reading the book in one sitting than I did watching the film, and I'm pretty sure that I read the book in less time than the film's runtime of 1 hour and 46 minutes. For me, this story just works better as a fragmentary but poetic first-person narrative, and I often personally have this problem with the translation of a first-person narrative onto the screen. I do think that fans of films with great cinematography, landscapes, and stories about motherhood and survival will really like the film. Jodie Comer is absolutely excellent in this. I really enjoyed her performance in Killing Eve, and while this is nothing like Villanelle and all the different personas she adopts for that, I thought that in this much quieter role, she really shone, she really carried this film for me, and I thought she was excellent. So in conclusion, neither one of these fully hit the spot for me, but there is no denying that both of them are good. For me, this was a slightly too meandering and long, mundane look at the apocalypse, which definitely did take a backseat to the main character's own journey. But that said, I know a lot of people will love both of these, and I don't think it matters whether you read the book first or see the film first. They work quite well together, so I would say if you were going to do one or the other, you could definitely easily fit in reading the book as well as seeing the film. And for me, this book was the highlight of the two. I did go and see this film with my husband, and to be honest, he was a bit bored definitely in the second half of the film. And without any spoilers, I don't think the ending really worked for him at all. So that's the perspective of somebody who hadn't read the book, who has slightly different taste to me. But I think we probably would have both liked a bit more drama, a bit more explanation of the apocalypse. And I think that books can get away with a lot more in terms of not explaining the apocalypse. It's left to your own imagination here at times, and I was sort of enjoying grasping whatever the narrator gave me while reading this one. Do let me know in the comments, have you read The End We Start From by Megan Hunter? Have you been to see the film? I believe this is due out on streaming services at the beginning of February, so do look out for it if you like any of the things that I've mentioned in this review. I'd love to hear from you if you've either read or seen it or think you will read or see it. And I do hope that you've enjoyed my fairly vague thoughts on this. It's very, very difficult not to give spoilers for such a short book. If you have enjoyed this video today, please do give it a like, and please do consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do have some other videos comparing different books, films and TV, and I'll leave the playlist for this for you up here so that you can go and check it out if you like comparing books and films. If you don't have a comment to leave today, do leave me an emoji related to this film, maybe something apocalyptic or watery. Thank you for watching, and I will hope very much to see you all again soon for another video all about books here on Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. Bye for now.